The Black and Blue, back at the beginning. Another chance for redemption under Matt Rhule. With a quarterback battle brewing right before our eyes. The 2022 Carolina Panthers. Contenders or pretenders? Now, from Panthers training camp, it's Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football.
Man, it's great to be back in Spartanburg, South Carolina, on the campus of Wofford at Gibbs Stadium. It's where it all starts every year for the Carolina Panthers. They have their Fan Fest in less than 2 weeks at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and then 3 preseason games at Washington, at New England, and then a home game against the Buffalo Bills on August 26th. And, of course, we will be there for all of that. With my man, Steve Smith, I'm Taylor Zarzour. Did you miss me?
I missed you.
All right, you come in for the real thing? All right, very good. It's good to be back with my man here, one of the very best in the history of the Panthers. Of course, Sam Mills' name is on that field. He's getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in less than 2 weeks. Every Panther fan is excited about that, but they're also excited about the future, Steve. If you want to get into that cold air in the playoffs of January, you got to get through the sweltering summer of Spartanburg in July.
Spartanburg is one of the hottest places. We also, as a former football player, it's hot as fish grease out on that field, but it also puts a lot of competition, a lot of friskiness goes on in the trenches between the defensive lineman and offensive lineman, and then every so often the DB and a wide receiver would get entangled with each other because it's hot, people are beating down on you, coaches are yelling, and oh yeah, we're fighting over that brown football called the pigskin.
89 got a little fiery out there in Spartanburg.
Never.
Through the years. You said the word Brown. A Cleveland Brown now plays for the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield fighting it out to be the starting quarterback this year.
Yes, fighting it out, getting an opportunity, taking alternate reps between he and Sam Darnold. I think it's interesting as well. These guys are also in the same draft class. First overall pick, top 5 picks between the both of them, and yet they're on the same team now. That's called a fork in the road.
That's right, and they've been sharing the reps so far this week. They're listening to a new play caller as well, the former head coach of the New York Giants, Ben McAdoo, now the offensive coordinator for the Panthers.
Well, people are asking, where did this guy come from? Well, he was an offensive consulting coach offensively for the Dallas Cowboys. So he's been around, but can he be the guy this year to help us get over the hump? Hopefully so, but we also know he loves to run the football, hint, hint, and also passing the football. That's what we need as well.
I know he wants Christian McCaffrey available to play in all 17 games. When the guy plays, the Panthers win. When he doesn't play, man, do they struggle. How necessary is he to their success this year?
Well, I can't put it just on Christian with the struggle, but however, we do need Christian McCaffrey to be available. However, he may not be just based on history, but if he is, it's icing on the cake.
Dante Foreman and some other running backs are here. We'll talk about them as this show progresses. Let's go to the field, though, and say hello to our dear friend, Kristen Balboni.
Hi, guys. I have missed you. I have missed you guys so much as well. It is great to be here with you for this training camp. We are so excited to be down here. Wanted to give you a couple of updates from what's been going on this week. This is the 4th day of practice. They'll have a day off tomorrow, and then on Monday they'll put on the pads. So a couple of updates. Shaq Thompson is starting out on the PUP list. He had a minor knee procedure right before coming down to camp. They don't expect it to be anything. That's going to take more than a few weeks before he's back out on the field. J.C. Horn also on the PUP list right now. He had some soreness after the conditioning test on Tuesday, so that's a very precautionary measure to make sure that that first-round pick from last year is healthy when it matters. You guys were also talking about the quarterback battle going on, and you mentioned that these two guys, Baker and Sam, have a history together. I talked to Baker when he was brought here, and he said, we were drafted together. Sam reached out to me, and it's been really great. They wanted to make sure that there was no awkwardness, so they've done quite a few things together. Again, talking beforehand, they organized a few workouts. You see him over there right now talking. They organized a few workouts with teammates before coming down to training camp. On the first day of training camp, they walked down together to start practice. And guys, you see him right over here right now. I just saw him tossing the ball around together, working on a little ball security. And then they went over to Ben McAdoo's drills. He loves to have all of his quarterbacks do jump rope, you know, to get the feet moving before practice. And today is no exception. You see some of those drills that he's known for doing. Taylor and Steve, are you guys any good at jump rope?
I bet you are, Smitty. My days of jump roping are long gone.
Long gone.
I'm not doing it at 44 years old anymore, no.
Did you ever do it?
Yeah, like teenager in my 20s, absolutely. And then there's no reason to do it anymore.
Not buying it.
You're not buying it? Hey, I want to talk about the other guy that we were just seeing in that frame just now. With not only Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, but they drafted a third-round pick in Matt Corral, the quarterback from Ole Miss.
Well, before we start talking about Matt Corral, think about P.J. Walker. How does he feel like
he's
the
still
odd
here.
duck? Right? He's sitting there watching all of this stuff, but at the same time, the writing on the wall is for him is everything that he wanted to be. He now has been drafted and traded to say that he no longer is a guy that has a legitimate opportunity to fight for this starting job. However, Matt Corral, I believe that he's about a year or two away. He's obviously a phenomenal quarterback in college, but we all know from every level there is a learning curve that you must go through, and Matt Corral will go through that. We just don't want him to go through that on the field at the expense of wins and losses for the Carolina Panthers.
Well said. I did a lot of his college games at Ole Miss, and this guy was a terrific player, one of the best quarterbacks that program has ever had. No, not better than Eli or Archie Manning, but certainly he's on the list somewhere, and I think you're right. Being behind Darnold and Mayfield will help him significantly, especially in the preseason. Chances are we'll get to see a lot of him in the second half of those 3 games that we'll be broadcasting.
You think so?
Over the course of the next month.
I don't think we will.
I do. I think we're going to see some Corral. Second half?
You still got these two guys battling out.
You want them to get some more reps.
You got to get – listen, we looked at these reps. We're going to talk about this all through it. But watching Sam Darnold in practice, he's going to wow you with some throws. However, he's also going to wait. You're going to be waiting all day like a pizza, waiting for him to make the throw as well.
I love debating with you. It's been a long time since we've argued and had fun as brothers, and I'm glad we're getting to do it again in this preseason. The Panthers have returned to the field. We're going to watch what they have in store for us here on this Saturday. When we return, we'll tell you about their big first-round draft pick, Ike Ekwonu, too, how important he is to the Panthers' success this season. That's coming up as we continue with the Panthers' return to football from Spartanburg. It's the Panthers' return to football here at Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina on this sweltering Saturday in late July with Steve Smith and Kristen Balboni. I'm Taylor Zarzer, getting ready for the preseason, which starts in a couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. against old friend Ron Rivera and the Commanders. We'll get a chance to watch these guys practice the next couple of weeks and look out for number 79. Do you like pancakes, Steve?
I love him, and I hear he's dishing out a lot of them.
That is Ike Ekwonu. Icky, he goes by. The pride of Charlotte, North Carolina. Matthews, to be more exact. I know you like Matthews down there just south of Charlotte. Played at NC State, was a sensational player there, and the Panthers used the 6th pick in the draft in order to get this guy, and everybody raved about that selection.
It's a smart selection. You know this offensive line did not play up to the potential or the expectations we were like in giving the quarterback enough time to make good decisions. Icky gives you that. He has 3 things that you want to look at. He has his strength, his process, and his aggression. And he can do all those things. He's strong, he's stout, his run blocking. He loves, listen, Icky is one of those guys, you talked about the pancakes. Listen, IHOP is out there. You put these 2 together, it's a lot of syrup being poured on those pancakes. Those young men That young man is aggressive, does a really good job in the run game. He needs to improve in the pass game a little bit, but so does everyone coming from college to the NFL. But he's a quick learner.
Well, you have Moton that they re-signed, gave the big contract to before last season on one side. Now you got Ekwonu on the other. Your tackles are set, right?
Yes.
And that's the interior that you're going to work on improving in the next month.
Absolutely. Brady Christensen was at tackle, got some run. However, he lacks the length traditionally that you want out of a tackle. However, what got Brady drafted was his athleticism. So when you lack the length but have athleticism, that becomes a dynamic guard. And he's moved to guard. Putting him at guard with his athleticism, he can really do some creative things. Hopefully he continues to advance, and things will be great.
There is the depth chart there. We'll see if Pat Elflein is the starting center or maybe Bradley Bozeman.
Bozeman will be moving to center. Elflein
so?
should be moving down, and Brady Christensen will go to guard. That's what I believe. Not trying to, as the young folks say, throw shade, but just looking. We saw what Pat Elflein can do. He did some good things, but he was not great. Bozeman playing last year with the Baltimore Ravens, playing with one of the most dynamic, mobile quarterbacks in the league right now. He was great. That's why I believe over time, Bozeman will move over, Elflein will move down, Christensen will move over.
One guy I'm interested to watch is that first name next to guard.
He can play.
Cade Mays.
Woo.
Played at Tennessee and Georgia.
Yes.
Really good SEC football player. See if that translates to the National Football League in the next month.
Needs to finish a little bit more on a consistent basis. If he can do that and his coaching staff can improve that in him, he will be a very good football player for us.
Well, Matt Rhule goes into his third season as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, and everybody knows it's time to compete and get to the playoffs. After a 5-12 season last year, it's time for Matt Rhule's team to have a chance to have a winning record this year. He obviously, as we've already discussed, Steve has made some changes to his coaching staff, bringing in Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator. Baker Mayfield is in to compete at quarterback. Ekwonu is there for protection on the line. What do you think of Matt Rhule's chances in year number 3 for the Panthers?
I believe his chances will be what we see on the field. I'm not sure what his chances will be. I believe if we can have a winning season, as they say out in the media streets, maybe the seat will get less hotter. However, the question is, what is making the playoffs this year? Is 10 wins making the playoffs?
I would say so. Yeah, I'd say 10-7 is good enough to get in there.
In the wild card?
Yeah. That would be probably good enough, but obviously he's not thinking about how many wins. He's thinking about
well, as fans, we are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the Panthers play 4 of their first 5 at home. They lost 6 straight at Bank of America Stadium to close out the season, so they clearly want to change that. One of the guys they're going to count on this year in the secondary is Dante Jackson.
Jackson.
That's right. He's standing by with Kristen Balboni.
He sure is. We are right here. Dante was asking me, he was like, all right, now, we wanted to get his media right. He was like, is it going to be up here? I was like, no, Dante, we're on TV.
See what face I was going to use.
Yeah. And which one are you going with?
I'm going to go with the happy, smiley for the people at home, you know, so. Yeah.
I like it.
Serious for the people who's here, so, but it's not going to be up there, so it's good.
I like it. So you and I worked on the draft together. You dipped your toe into the media landscape. So I want to ask you, as a veteran, a captain, and as an occasional broadcaster, how do you break down this secondary?
Sky's the limit for this group. We've been working really hard. We all stayed in contact throughout the offseason just to make sure that we all were on the same page and going in the same direction. And, everybody worked out with that same intensity, and we all talked pretty much every day just to make sure when we get here, we hit the ground running.
And you're hitting the ground running with a new coach, Coach Wilks, a familiar face, of course, to a lot of Panthers players and fans, but new to you guys this year. How has that been under his leadership?
It's been great. It's been great. When you get a guy like Coach Wilks, you understand why they had so much success in the past, because he's such attention to detail. He just wanted to bring the best out of everybody just as human beings and as men, So he's all about brotherhood, and he's all about just empowering us and making sure we have the most confidence when we're out there.
Pads go on Monday. What's the focus for the secondary next week?
Just make sure we coming in, like I said, with the same intensity that we've been having. Just trying to make everybody better. we get to go against a great group of receivers. So there's always plenty of work at practice. So yeah, just kind of keep it rolling, get in the pass, try not to get too high, try not to stay too low, but just keep it smooth, keep it going right through, chopping wood.
All right, one more smile for the people at home. I'll let you get back to work. Thank you so much, Dante. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, back up to you.
Oh, that's one of the best for the Panthers. Thank you, Kristen. Dante, C.J. Henderson, J.C. Horn. The Panthers have some good corners to go along with Jeremy Chinn, who's, of course, back there making all those tackles.
Back there making all those tackles. However, Jeremy Chinn, you know, this will be his second full season primarily in the back half. So we need to see that transition. He's been a tackling machine. However, he's also been a guy that's lined up in the box. So sometimes a jack of all trades really leads to a master of none, but he is an outlier. He can play both, but I believe he should maintain playing strong safety.
Only John Beeson and Luke Kuechly has had more tackles in their first couple of years ever in Panthers history than Jeremy Chinn. You know what we need to do?
What's that?
We need to talk about the wide receivers, because I know how much you love to do that. And we're going to do it after the break. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson and company catching those footballs from Baker and Sam this season. It's the Panthers' return to football in Spartanburg. We're in Spartanburg, South Carolina, as the Panthers work on some special teams drills in front of us. In just a little bit, they're going to be doing some 7-on-7. I know you love that, Steve Smith.
A little bit.
I'm Taylor Zarzer. We have Kristen Balboni with us as well. We've been talking about the DBs, the offensive line, the quarterbacks, the new offensive coordinator. How about the wide receivers? Let's talk a little bit about Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. There's Robbie at a team-high 5 touchdown catches last year. 2 years ago, he had a career-high 95 catches. I know he'd like to catch about as many footballs as he did 2 years ago. There's DJ Moore, and I got a trivia question. Don't look down at your piece of paper.
Gotcha.
He's third in Carolina history with 3 consecutive years of 1,000 receiving yards. Who are the two others?
Muhsin Muhammad and myself.
Greg Olsen and yourself. Greg Olsen and Steve Smith Sr.
Greg Olsen is a
3
tight end.
straight. Yeah, but, well, they count him as a receiver for this graphic. That's what DJ has done.
It's an inaccurate graphic. Whoever did this graphic, you guys messed up.
Cooper Kupp last year had over 4,000 yards receiving.
Hey, someone said he was going to be a pretty good wide receiver. I don't know who.
I know you like DJ Moore a lot, and you've liked the maturity you've seen from him the last couple of years.
DJ Moore is right there on third down, 21 targets from Sandowner. Under pressure, 33 targets. Win Bliss, 36 targets, and win in red zone, 10 targets. Hint, whoever is the quarterback, you need to throw it to DJ Moore.
A difference maker wearing number 2.
He's very underrated. I believe DJ Moore is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL right now.
Why is that?
Because first of all, he's in the air quotes small market. He doesn't get a lot of attention, but he can just flat out play football. He goes about his business, kind of blue collar. He just goes about his business, and you know you have to concern yourself. He keeps defensive coordinators up at night. That's when you know he's an impact player, and it's what he is.
I know how much you like these two guys that we're seeing on the screen
2
right
and 3.
now. Yeah. What else do the Panthers have catching the football this season?
It's interesting. They have 13 wide receivers, but by my calculations right now, they may keep 7 receivers only. That's it. Probably 6. That means the 7th individual will probably be on practice squad. That could be possibly a draft pick that was last year that you thought would impact. My point of making that is it's a crowded room, but it's not a lot of chairs.
There's a couple of people that have come to the organization in the offseason, like Rashard Higgins and Andre Roberts, that you expect to make the team.
I expect those guys to make the team. When you talk about Rashard Higgins on third down, 13 targets last year for the Cleveland Browns. Oh, and who was his quarterback? Baker Mayfield. He signed in the offseason, and yet Baker's traded later in the offseason, there 3 weeks prior to training camp. I'm not saying tampering, but I'm just saying, that seemed a little interesting.
Go get some guys you're accustomed to that you can trust. That's what that is.
You're getting a guy that you're accustomed to and can trust before he becomes on the team. I like it. You got to read the tea leaves, people.
Hey, let's look at the tight ends now, because those are also guys you're going to throw the football to, whether you include them as pass catchers like Greg Olsen and yourself.
Greg Olsen is and was a pass catcher. He was not a wide receiver. He was a dynamic tight end.
Well, who's going to be dynamic for the Panthers at that spot this year? Ian Thomas, Tommy Trimble, Stephon Sullivan, they're all back. And Giovanni Ricci could be a catch-all for the Panthers this season.
We need to see what these guys can do. They left us desiring more. You're really not sure what they present. Ian Thomas is a guy who is extremely athletic. You see him play at Indiana, but he has yet to show us that athleticism on a consistent basis on the football field. He was primarily used as a blocking tight end his couple of first 2 years. He hasn't really wowed us yet, so I'm looking for that wow, and I believe the time is now.
And we'll see if, in fact, that happens this year. Trimble is a guy going into the last year that you liked a lot out of Notre Dame. This now his second, and now playing in his second season.
He looked fantastic in training camp. He did some things. They had some little design plays for him. He stepped up. But again, he also didn't give us that wow factor. And when I say wow factor, and some people listening and say, man, Steve, why are you so hard on him? You have the standard of Greg Olsen. We've used to seeing Greg Olsen type numbers. And then when you go down the league, you see George Kittle, newly retired, or is he retired, Gronk, all of these impactful tight ends that make you look and count on them in the pass and run game. We have not had that yet, but we need that to help Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and at the end of the day, Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield and Christian McCaffrey.
Well, you just stole the words out of my mouth, because you know McCaffrey is a threat in the receiving game as well.
He wakes up being a threat to somebody.
17 career touchdowns out of the backfield, 357 catches out of the backfield. Obviously, they want him and others to run the football, but McCaffrey can catch the ball. Who else around McCaffrey at that same position are you looking for the next month?
Dante Foreman is doing a good job of just filling in. You saw what he was able to do with the Tennessee Titans when Derrick Henry went down. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He also can run downhill. You need a guy that can fill in when Christian maybe is not on the field. Not because he's injured, because he's taking a water break.
Sure.
Right? You can't have a guy going 70, 80 plays without actually taking a break. And also, when you can have guys that other defenses need to watch out for, everybody's going to zone in on Christian. Everybody's going to zone in on DJ. We need other guys to step up, but we need to see that when our ace in the hole is not on the field.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, of course, was a guy that we saw a lot last season as McCaffrey went down. Would expect him to have a good chance to get some reps again this season, too.
The young, great Canadian.
That's right, yeah. By way of Oklahoma State.
Yes.
And then on to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we've gone through the entire offense. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about the defense. We've had some changes on the defensive side of the ball, primarily with the pass rush. We'll ask you about that. And also, your guy, Frankie Louvu, had a big year last year. Who's going to emerge in the next month on the defensive side of the ball and become a star this season for the Carolina Panthers? It is the return to football in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we're back in just a moment. It is the Panthers' return to football at Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. With one of the greatest Panthers of all time, Steve Smith, I'm Taylor Zarser. Like many of you, I think you played better football than anybody on the field, but every time I ever try to call you the greatest Panther, you're very, very quick to make a correction, because you believe that man's name belongs as the greatest Panther ever, and he's inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on August the 6th.
Sam Mills, one of the greatest Panther to ever wear a jersey. The impact of him on the field, you can watch the highlights, but his impact off the field as a coach, you don't get to see that. That documentary will never be able to see because of his passing. But Sam Mills was one of those special men. I was honored to be in the same locker room. At times he would grab and coach me up and talk to me, not as a football player, but coach me up as a man. And so I'm ever indebted to him. And one of the best connections I ever have is the day Sam passed is also about an hour time frame that my 17-year-old son, Boston, April 18th. And so Sam passed that morning and my son was born. And so I hope that my son can impact the world the same way Sam did.
It's incredible the legacy that he's left behind 17 years later, and the power that he carries, especially in this community. Keep Pounding is something that means everything to North and South Carolinians, and it'll be a lot of fun to be there on August the 2nd when the Panthers play the Cardinals in that Keep Pounding game. Sam, of course, had a defensive mind. He had an eye for the football. And we're excited to see what the Panthers are going to have in store for us on the defensive side of the ball this year. They've lost some faces that were getting to the quarterback last year, Hassan Reddick being the first name that comes to mind. But I know that you're big on Yetur Gross-Matos. He's been a guy that has come in situational plays for the Panthers in the last couple of years. This year, they may expect him to play every down.
Situational football is really good because that gives a young man an opportunity. He may have a deficit maybe because of playing in college and maybe didn't have the strength and all that stuff. So situational football is a great opportunity to get a young man in there, get him reps, get the experience, and then allow him to grow up mentally and physically in the game. And now they believe with Hassan Reddick leaving and then also with some other guys that he can step up and be consistent. We don't know. I expect him to play well, but anytime you can line anybody up with Brian Burns is going to be successful.
Yeah, Brian had 9 sacks last year, 25.5 sacks in his career. He went to the Pro Bowl for the first time last year. Brian and Matos are expected to get to the quarterback. Playing right behind them is number 7, Shaq Thompson, and he's standing by with Kristen Balboni.
Shaq, thanks for doing this with us. I know that you were starting out this camp not in the way you want, on the PUP list for a couple of weeks, so I give your knee a little bit more time to recover. But you talked about using this time to get your mental reps. I've seen you out there engaging with all of the guys. You were just talking to Brian Burns for quite some time. So how are you using this time?
I'm using this time to tell him I taught you everything that you know.
You know that was going to be my next question, TD.
Dad, tell him I learned that from my daddy.
I give you credit every time. I give you a little credit every time in every interview.
TD, he did just talk about you in the press conference yesterday.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. It never fails.
That's what we love about live broadcasts. We just have Thomas Davis walk by. I saw him over there on the bike with you earlier.
On my interview now.
We'll start over. Nobody's been.
It really helps me just mentally. I can't be out there physically, but helping these guys, they're coming to me asking what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to see stuff, just helping me get my mind racing for when I get back out there, man. And just help me, put me in that game-like situation to where anything happens, motions, come back to motion, make checks and stuff like that, and helping these guys get aligned, seeing them from a bird's eye view back here with the coaches, a coach eye view. It's really appealing to me. And I can't wait to get back with these guys, man. These guys are doing a lot of great things out here, communicating well. We got young leaders stepping up, Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, Dante Jackson, Frankie Louisville, and Derek Brown, and Matt Unitas came in. He's done a great job with the D-linemen, and we're just looking for moving forward.
Yeah, speaking of those young guys, I was actually going to talk to you about the way that you have been a leader. It's funny to think about, you were the young guy for so long, and now you are one of the veterans on this team, one of the captains, one of the leaders. You always, as you said, give Thomas Davis a lot of credit, all that you learned from him and his leadership. So how are you taking the extra time to mentor those young defensive players that you mentioned that you want to see step up?
It's not just TD. I had Luke there. One of my biggest influences, too, was A.J. Klein. A.J. Klein, when I came in, he was the one who really helped me at that nickel Sam position, helped me get a line, know what to do and stuff like that. But Luke and TD were great role models, man. They were captains and leaders on and off the field. Everybody looked to them on the field. Everybody looked to them off the field. And that's what I really took from them. They carried themselves well on and off the field. And I'm just trying to show these guys, man, you got to be more vocal. You got to take that next step for us to grow. It's not just one guy talking. Everybody has to talk. And that's what I'm trying to get Burns to do. Because he's one of those young guys who everybody looks up to. You know what I mean? When we need a big play, coaches, myself, you know what I mean? We look, Burns, let's go. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys. Marquise is also one of those guys. The whole D-line, you know, it really starts with them up front, and that really makes our defense get going.
All right, I'm going to let you go, but before I do, I need to get a pair of those sunglasses. You've been wearing cool sunglasses all during training camp, so just put me on the list for one.
No, I got you, man. Hey, shout out to Sunglass Hut. Shout out to Oakley. Man, hey, I'm shouting y'all out. Make sure I get a little.
Oh, my God. Okay, he's doing promotions now. Shaq, thank you. All right, guys, back to you.
You set it up, KB, to give him some love, to let him give some shout-outs there.
I just love how we have all these. Cool?
There you go. He does, very much so. I love how all these Panther greats stay with this organization, Steve. Obviously, with your association, Dan Morgan's association, TD out there on the field right now. My man Roman Harper is in the next booth now.
Hold on. Roman Harper is not a Panther great.
Are you making him a Saint great?
He's a Saint great, but Panther great?
Well, he has some association. He played for the Panthers.
Man,
Come on now.
That man had
he's going to come in here and bust up this booth.
He had
if you don't.
Cup of coffee here.
Yeah.
I went to Justice Minnesota.
Oh, here we go. So, live talk trash.
You are a Super Bowl champ.
Also want to mention this. Luke Kuechly's doing some radio this year for the Panthers as well.
Hey, Roman.
Are you going to get him in here right now? He's immediately going to get us on right there. My SEC teammate, Roman Harper, and my Panthers teammate,
I love
Steve
Roman.
Smith.
We actually have we've made amends. Every so often he'll say something that I just kind of want to sing him, but he's doing good. Hey, have you ever watched My Football Life?
You don't have a microphone. He can't defend himself right now.
Did you watch the Football Life? If you watch the Football Life, there's on there. I stopped when we played you guys. When I was a Raven, I stopped. We threw the little screen. That was coming to me. I slowed down, looked at you, and stiff armed you on purpose. Just wanted to let you know.
And I totally believe that.
You went down like a rock.
It's okay though. It's okay.
Hey, we got it.
The next play. You know what? That was one of the best games though. Steve, he totally had a great game. He balled out against us. We literally had nobody that could cover that day. He was in the zone. I give him his props when he does serve. He's that great. And but no, we were so competitive that we were on the field. He hated that I never let wide receivers celebrate. So I would never let him celebrate. So the moment they want to get a first down signal, I'm like, no.
Why did you always do that?
Because I just didn't want you to get your shine on it.
Okay.
Just like,
well, you know what? So here's the thing.
I'm not.
So guess what? No. So I don't want you to shine on my broadcast. Get out of here.
All right. I love that, man. That was some good live TV right there.
See you later.
Will and Carla, I don't know if you're going to have anybody break up your broadcast coming up next, but we're fired up. You guys are taking over at the top of the hour. What do you have in store for us?
See, we have tighter security down here at the after party, guys. We don't allow things like that. We don't let Saints on our broadcast. We have Al Wallace coming in here next to Carla Gephardt. I'm Will Kunkel. He's going to be joining us in a little bit. We have Dan Morgan, Scott Fitterer, Charlie Dayton. We're talking about everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not able to be here right now, the fans are showing out right now. A lot of crowds, even though they changed the time. But we're going to bring you the breakdown of what's happened here over the last 4 days here in Wofford College.
Yeah, in case you haven't heard, we have a quarterback battle. We're going to break it all down a little bit more for you with the general manager in just a little bit.
Oh, I love it. We got a little goal line going on. Sam Darnold throwing a strike at the pylon. Rashard Higgins, I think, got it across. Touchdown, Panthers. All right, it's just a goal line drill and on a Saturday in July in Wofford, but I'm pumped. I'm ready to call some football.
You should be.
We're watching some goal line drills right now of the Panthers, and then we're going to get ready for 7-on-7. There you see Matt Corral and Baker Mayfield. They're throwing to the receivers right now. Sam Darnold is out there at the same time as Baker Mayfield. Love seeing this.
What I love about this, you have two quarterbacks going, two wide receivers, and it's all about time and a rhythm, and then that allows you to give the quarterback's opportunity to have live action, the receivers to catch the ball on time. So you're just working a lot of different things that you normally don't get to work in the regular season. You get to speed up and have high volume reps, was important in the evaluation process that's going on between Sam and Baker right now.
You've been putting up with me for a long time. We used to do a radio show throughout North and South Carolina when you were playing for the Carolina Panthers, and I would come down here and do the show with you in Wofford, and that's exactly what you would say the first couple of weeks is working on your craft. That was by far the most important thing that you were trying to establish the first couple of weeks of camp.
You have to establish working on your craft right now, like I like to call it, in the underwear Olympics, because you get to see flashes of what people can do without the pads. However, when the pads come on, now you have the physicality. Now you have the sweat, the heat index, all of the things that mentally can wear you down. So you have to have a good foundation of the muscle memory of doing it right without the pads. So when the pads come on, all of a sudden you have that muscle memory. That atrophy doesn't build up.
I know you were like just crazy to get out there and compete because it was 7, 8, 9 months in between competition. But these 7-on-7 drills we're about to watch right here, you went nuts getting to go up against some of those DBs in this.
This is important because you get to really see the process of the wide receiver. How does he handle press coverage? How does he handle off coverage? How does the quarterback handle press coverage and timing? How can these quarterbacks deliver the ball under 25 seconds? Are they accurate? Under 2 seconds or more than 2 seconds. How accurate is the football? Where's the ball placement? All of those things that you need to evaluate and understand who should win based on ball placement.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here because when we come back, it's time for the Panthers to do a little 7-on-7. We will watch that as the return to football continues from Spartanburg. Kristen Balboni is on the field with Steve Smith. I'm Taylor Zarzour up in the press box at Gibbs Stadium at Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. It is the Carolina Panthers training camp return to football. We're going to get to watch some 7-on-7 drills. While we're at break, we're watching Baker Mayfield during his time in the 7-on-7s. Now it's Sam Darnold's turn.
That's good. It'd be interesting to see. They run a lot of pass plays, obviously a 7-on-7, trying to see. The defense is always going to look better in the first couple of days in practice because it's always easier to just cover an area where in offense you have designated design things that requires timing and reading and understanding. So defense is always ahead of the offense, always.
Darnold just went underneath the Shi Smith. I know you have high hopes for him in his second season.
I have a lot of high hopes for him. Also do the Carolina Panthers and also that ticking time of asking him to produce and play well because you saw what he was able to do in college.
So Darnold, you see 3 receivers to the right,
tight
one
formation,
to the left, a little tight formation.
Identifying the coverage with the motion.
Darnold
now should have went
gets
out.
rid of the football quickly.
Went to the football quickly, which is considered a good pass. However, you don't overlook touchdown to check down. He went check down, never looked for the touchdown. Shi Smith was open, back corner pylon. Coaching staff may say he needs to have a higher angle. That is correct, but he was still open.
Colin Thompson, by the way, caught that football. That's one of those tight ends that's trying to make the team this season. We continue to watch these 7-on-7 drills. We'll take you to the top of the hour with this before Will and Carla will take over in hour number 2. What do you see here, Smitty?
What I see is going. The defense did a really good job of, they were in zone coverage of stepping back, taking away that backside corner. Talking to Ben McAdoo last night, one of the things they want to do differently compared to last year is they actually allow the quarterback to check at the line to make adjustments. Joe Brady did not have alternate or checks at the line, which was obviously, if you watch Panther football last year, we needed a few of those. So that's the difference this year. And you're going to see a lot of that coming up this year that we didn't see last year.
You mentioned the difference Deontay Foreman made for the Titans. He's there next to Darnold in the backfield.
Contested catch.
Yeah, good
Very
catch.
good catch.
It's well done there.
Mobley out on the stop right there. I believe that he would have, that would have been a great chicken run to see who can penetrate.
Jared Scott, the rookie from Idaho State, with that catch. Good job by the rookie of making that grab. So you see some of the work that Sam Darnold did while he was out there on the field. Baker Mayfield got his turn before Sam, and he'll get another one right here. Baker going into his 5th season, the Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma. 4 seasons with the Browns, and now starting over with the Panthers. That's Foreman.
Really good play right there. You're understanding really the defense is in zone coverage. A lot of times we call this cheating, where they know this is a pass coverage. It's a pass happy drill, so they're going to drop out in coverage, where it makes us think a lot on the offense, but is necessary because you're going to get that same game-like atmosphere, or have that in the game, where you have to sometimes take what the defense gives you. Live for another day, or live for another down.
Kristen Balboni earlier was talking about the relationship that Sam and Baker have had. You could see it the last few days. They are leaning on each other. A lot of sportsmanship between the two of them, trying to be good teammates. Mayfield going to scamper out of the pocket, throw a bullet that's incomplete. Everybody covered up on that play.
Everybody covered up again. That's the defense sitting in zone coverage. A little bit frustrating, but that's just what happens. When you don't have the full deck of players on the field, the linemen are over there off to the right doing linemen and offensive, defensive and offensive linemen going at each other. They know it's a pass play, so they're going to sit in zone coverage to eliminate the passes. C.J.
Henderson was in coverage there on that last play for the Panthers. The 3rd-year player out of Florida, came over from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, good decision. Live for another day. Get out, throw it out. Don't do anything haste and put us behind, or what they say, behind schedule. Again, in the red zone, it's tight coverage. You have to make quick decisions immediately, and when you don't, being a second off is the difference between a PBU, a pick 6, or a completion. This is known to be a game of inches, but it's also on the quarterback play. It's known to be a game of seconds as well.
McAdoo calling the plays for the Panthers in his 1st season, the former New York Giants head coach, now the offensive coordinator for the Panthers. McCaffrey is standing next to Mayfield. How excited are we to get to see that this year? The underneath throw is broken up.
That's one of those catches that when you talk about the type of caliber, Wesley Walls, Greg Olsen, and now Ian Thomas, you expect that tight end to make that catch.
Damian Wilson right there to prevent it.
Yes.
Linebacker out of Minnesota was signed from away from the Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason.
This will be really interesting to see now, moving down to see the ball is on the 18-yard line, to really see what kind of defense. This is an opportunity where you can have a good strike within Sam Darnold at quarterback.
I want to ask Kristen Balboni about J.C. Horn watching all of this go on. Let's watch this play before we go down to KB on that. Sam back in there, throws to the sideline. Good ball to Shi Smith. KB, what is JC watching as he's watching these 7-on-7 drills?
Well, Taylor, JC is watching exactly what we are watching. He's standing about, let's say, 8 to 10 feet from me. I mean, he's as close to on the field as you can get. He's been moving his feet throughout these drills. You can just see the competitiveness in him. I mean, he was almost mocking these drills. He's standing over there, as you can see, with cornerbacks coach Evan Cooper. He is just as engaged as anybody who's actually on the field. I know Steve loves that. He's a competitive guy. He wants to be out there. I know it's killing him that he can't be, but again, he's just dealing with a little bit of soreness. Should be good to go soon, and we'll see him back in training camp very, very soon, I'd imagine.
You raved about him, Smitty, the first pick that the Panthers made last year. What you saw of him in the preseason, a really unfortunate injury that played a big role in the struggles the Panthers had defensively last year.
Huge struggles. When you build your defense with a sensational cornerback like J.C. Horn, and you don't get the opportunity to experience it fully throughout the year, you know that you're unprepared for things that shouldn't happen. And when you get a good defensive player that gets hurt, the next guy sitting on the bench. You want him to be just as good, but ultimately he isn't.
A couple plays ago, Darnold found Stephon Sullivan, the huge former tight end from LSU, who's now part of the Panthers roster, his second season with the Panthers, and that was Spencer Brown, who made the team last year through a good training camp. See if he's able to stick here again in his second season, now from the 3-yard line.
It's going to be tough with the already zone coverage, doing the box up underneath top. Got to make quick decision, but I think it's going to be a check down.
Surveys the whole field. Great catch by Shi Smith.
Fantastic catch by Shi Smith. We need to see that, and great ball placement by Sam Darnold.
Put it where only Shi could make the grab.
And he caught it with his hands, went up aggressively.
Yes, he did. And you love seeing that. You love that the Panthers are back on the field.
I hate to just interrupt you, but I just saw Ickey put them grown man hands on someone in one-on-one drills with the D-line. Goodness gracious.
Ickey Ekwonu, the first-round draft
grown man right there. Mama, there go that man again.
Uh-oh, watch out. I know everybody's going to be pumped to have him back on the team this season. We're going to watch one more play here before we get some final comments from you. And this is Matt Corral, and he throws a hard ball, as you see, inside the 10-yard line, where Rashawn Henry, the UVA Cavalier, makes the catch. Be fun to see what Corral can do these next couple of weeks before training camp begins, or excuse me, before the preseason begins. Got 3 games again, of course. You've got the return to football today. You have the Fan Fest coming up on August 11th. First preseason game is at Washington on August 13th. Of course, we will have that for you, as well as the Patriots game the following week and the home game against Buffalo to finish out August. Oh, nice defensive play there, as the Panthers are finishing up this 7-on-7 drill. And just want to get some final thoughts from you, Steve, on what you saw today and what the next week is going to hold for the Panthers in training camp.
What we saw by the Carolina Panthers today is an exciting football team that it can do some real damage in the NFC South. However, we will see how much damage we will do, obviously in Fan Fest once the pass come on, and then against the Washington Commanders, former Carolina Panther head coach Ron Rivera.
Yeah, we get to see Sam Howell, the former Tar Heel quarterback, now playing for the Commanders, so we'll see some familiar faces coming up in a couple of weeks.
He's out there kicking.
Joey Sly is there kicking for Washington. I cannot wait for what this man has to say about that. We thank our entire crew for all of their hard work. We are done, but nobody else is done. Will and Carla have the next hour of training camp coverage as the return to football from Spartanburg continues.
Welcome to Black and Blue Kickoff Live, the second hour. Welcome back to football. Beautiful Gibbs Field at Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Will Kunkel alongside Carla Gebhardt. Thank you, Steve Smith and Taylor. You guys absolutely nailed it. So much fun, but we now have the live interviews. We got Scott Fitterer sitting by. We've got Al Wallace right off set right now. We got Dan Morgan about to join us. We also have Charlie Dayton, maybe even some others ready to join us. But we got to talk about quarterback because 7-on-7 just kind of wrapping up right now. They're in a little bit of a break. Anything you saw in particular that you watched?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you got to think there's a new offensive coordinator at the helm of these guys. There's 4 quarterbacks in that room right now. And you look at, obviously Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. It seems timing is something that's going to happen for both of those guys. It's a brand new offense for both of them, even though Baker just got here a couple of weeks ago. But fans are excited to see these two guys compete. They all came out here here, and what a crowd, honestly. This thing got changed last night or yesterday afternoon pretty late from 7 p.m. to 11 a.m., and the fans still came out because they wanted to see these quarterbacks compete.
Yeah, no jet lag for the fans despite an 8-hour time change as they're wrapping up their final break here. You just saw them, so hopefully they go back into 7-on-7 in just a little bit. But it's interesting watching the coaching staff now split up the reps. So what happened day one, it was Sam Darnold with the first team, which I think we all expected. It's his team starting training camp, but Baker Mayfield trying to obviously weasel his way into some of those first team reps. And then day two, that was on, I believe, Thursday. Get all my days right here. He was with the ones. Baker Mayfield was. And then yesterday they mixed and matched on Friday a little bit, which I didn't love because then you don't get in a groove. You take kind of 2 reps here, 2 reps there, and then today it was Baker Mayfield going first in 7-on-7s. And, you know, it's tough to watch this because the defense knows what's coming. They understand that it's going to be a pass play. There's not a whole lot for them to read. There's no play action to hold them in their position for just that split second that's going to give a window to the quarterback. So it's all defense, and you just kind of look to make the right throw.
Yeah, and Steve Smith even said it earlier. This is easier for this kind of practice is easy for defense because they're just covering a space, right? They don't have to worry about timing. They don't have to worry about whatever the play call is as much as the offense does, as much as the quarterbacks do. But you mentioned, you know, those rep splits, and you got to wonder, you know, both of the quarterbacks, Sam and Baker, told us this week that they were just kind of rolling with the punches, doing what the coach said, talking to Rule, talking to Ben McAdoo. But you do have to wonder how they feel about splitting those reps up because this is preparation for the season, and there is going to be a starting quarterback named at some point, and you're kind of missing out on certain reps depending on how often and when they name a starter.
I think right now they're okay with the plan. They're okay doing the split because it's the first week. Now, if the one starts to distance themselves a little bit and make a little bit of a gap between the two, and it's still doing this, then all of a sudden I think you're going to see internally at least. I don't think anybody's going to go to the podium and be like, no, this is crazy what Matt Rule's doing. This is BS what Ben McAdoo is doing. I need to be the QB1. I need to be out there. I don't expect that to happen at all. But right now, I think it's okay until they start to get their feet underneath them a little bit. So second week in training camp, maybe we see a little bit of a disparity as Sam Darnold. You see, look, he rolls back and he makes a dump-off throw to Ian Thomas, and it's a nice throw. It's the right throw, but the problem is everything else is covered. So we see so many check-downs, so many dump-offs, so many outlet passes, and it's the greatest time to be alive if you're a backup quarterback or a fullback because you get more passes thrown your way than you will for the rest of your career.
Yeah, they're getting reps into P.J. Walker and Matt Corral, and Matt, I'm sure, is wanting to get as many reps as he can too. A rookie, he's trying to prove himself within that room and trying, you know, we all think obviously the third string as we go into the season, but he's still trying to prove himself as a rookie.
He needs to put something good on tape in order to earn reps later in the season, later in training camp, as well as preseason. Because frankly, he's not going to get enough reps in the preseason early. He's got to earn that. So you mentioned that we heard from Sam and Baker. Indeed, we did, and we're going to prove it to you right here. Here's what the two guys are saying about this battle in this training camp so far.
Start of training camp is always the most exciting time. You know, get to be around the team for the first time, full speed reps, not just on air, and really competing against each other. So it's a great start, and it's a great learning process for me to get to know these guys and really find out what everybody's made of with this competition. We're all pretty young, you know. I mean, Sam and I are the oldest ones in the room, and we're only going into year 5, so we're able to compete and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Just the different systems that we've been in. Obviously, they're learning this one for the first time too, so compare it, contrast, and just come up with ideas to see the most efficient way to run things and get this team winning.
Just going to keep going every day, you know what I mean? It's just taking it one day at a time. I know it's cliche, but that's how I'm taking it. I know that's how Baker's going to view this thing, so that's all I'm going to do, and I'm just going to continue to build one day at a time. I know that's kind of our whole team's mindset right now, and we'll just do that. I feel like we you know, Baker already has a really good command right now of the offense, and as do I. So it's fun to kind of bounce ideas off each other too of, you know, what kind of footwork we take, what we're thinking on different routes and different concepts, and what we see, you know, defensive scheme-wise. So it's fun. It's fun to bounce ideas off each other, and fun to come out here and compete, like I said.
These guys are nothing if not running for president right now. They're saying all the right things at all the right times, and I don't expect that to change, frankly, going forward.
Yeah, and I know we're talking quarterbacks right now, but we just had Jeremy Chin have an interception. Everybody went wild behind our shoulders. That's the kind of energy. These practices, that's what fans want to see, right? They want to see that quarterback competition, but they also want to see more from the defense, too.
All right, Scott Fitter has just gotten his headset on. We're about to take a 2-minute break. We're going to be right back with the general manager of your Carolina Panthers. Maybe we have some news regarding the quarterbacks. We'll find out in 2 minutes. We'll be right back with Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football. Welcome back to Gibbs Stadium and Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football. And it looks like they're breaking up, but they're still doing some offensive drills, which fans obviously love. Let's now bring in the man that is in charge of this roster, the general manager of your Carolina Panthers, Scott Fitter. Scott, first of all, thanks for joining us here on BBKL. How's your Spartanburg experience going this year?
It's been great so far. I think the guys came out with great energy. Really good first week of practice. It's more of an acclimation practice week this week than true practice week is in the past. Next week will be fun. We put the pads on. We get to see real football.
All right. I don't know if you've heard this. There is a quarterback battle going on between number 14 and 6, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. What do you look for as a general manager this early? Because I'll tell you what, Twitter has thoughts.
No doubt. Everybody sees what you see on the field. For us, the biggest thing is how are they learning? How are they studying? How are they getting along in the room? This is new offense for everyone. Sam's got a little bit of a head start over Baker, but they're all picking it up. Even, Matt Corral, he's staying in there. He's fighting along. So as a whole, just how quickly are they learning? Are they commanding the offense? Are they making the reads? Are they processing quickly? And we're starting to see that right now.
Yeah, and you made a lot of off-season moves for the guys protecting those quarterbacks, the offensive line. Everybody is applauding you for all the hard work that you put in this off-season, bringing in those big guys.
Especially the quarterbacks.
That's right,
yes.
That's right. So what are you seeing from them right now? Much improved?
Much improved. I think our depth, the starting 5 will be really good, whatever combination that looks like. And then the next 3 or 4, those are all guys that are quality football players that can start and play for us and play at a winning level. Last year was so inconsistent. We had so much, pressure in the backfield.
13 different starting, but you can't win with that.
Not only that, it's just the communication up front is hard. These are all smart guys, physical guys, tough guys. I feel like all 9, 10 of these guys, we have 14 on the roster right now, can come out here and play winning football for us.
As we just saw Baker Mayfield. What was that process like? Not just the trade, but kind of get to know him because there's so many rumors. Again, Twitter rumors out there, whether he's not the adult in the room, but he's come in and he's been certainly the adult in the room.
It's amazing to watch how he interacts with Sam and with PJ and with Matt. He's been such a pro, and they've been pros all in that room. Sam's been awesome with him. We did a lot of homework on him. This was a long process. We made a lot of calls. We found out, through multiple people that he's been with in the past, a group that drafted him, the players that have been with him. And we got a lot of really good feedback about him. Obviously we hear the stories and there's some concern, so we checked those out and everything, checked the box and everything was good. He's been as advertised out here.
And you've been busy while you've been in Spartanburg, bringing in Duke Dawson, a former second-round pick from the Patriots. So what do you think? What was the homework, I guess, behind him and bringing him in right now?
Well, our pro guys do a good job. They scout the USFL. They know who's on the street. And with Rashaan Melvin retiring, we were at 89 spots, and so we could add one to it. J.C. Horn obviously was out this week, so we need extra legs. And Duke was a second round pick, just a few years ago, and we saw him move around yesterday. He was very fluid, very quick and twitchy. Obviously, he's coming off the ACL, a year out now, but he looked good, and so he's a good guy to add to this mix.
Bring up J.C. Horn. Talk me off the ledge. I'm terrified
He's fine.
about this because it's a foot injury, and it's like, man, we're one cut away.
No, you know what? We've the doctors have reviewed everything. They've looked at the CT scans, everything. His foot's fine. The bone is totally healthy. So we're just being precautionary with it. We want to be smart with it. Like I said, it's the acclimation period, so why put him out there too soon?
And there's some other names out there. J.C. Horn, obviously, a lot of fans talking about him this offseason. Dante, Brian Burns. But what about C.J. Henderson? He came in last year about halfway through, so you've been pretty impressed with what he's been able to do this week.
Yeah, C.J. did a good job last year. He came in, played a role for us, and then you saw the step that he took this spring. And then we were just watching tape yesterday, and he looks like the guy from Florida who was the 9th pick overall, just a few years ago. He's explosive. He's making plays. You know, DJ did a double move on him yesterday. He caught up and knocked the ball out in the back of the end zone. So he does some things that a lot of players can't do, and so we're counting on him this year.
I don't think we can talk about Sam Darnold enough right now because of how he's handled this situation. I mean, he's a human being. I mean, he has an ego, he has some pride, he has feelings. And you guys go out and, to your right, you go out and you go after Deshaun, don't get him. Go after Baker, you bring him in. And he's handled this as well as a person could possibly handle it.
He's the ultimate pro. You know, like if he's your son, you're so proud of him.
Right.
He's such a good-hearted person. He's a great guy in the locker room. He's confident. You know, he's quiet, and you kind of mistake that as for being really laid back. You know, you think California. He's got an edge to him, and that's really coming out. Just being brought out by the competition. And so Sam, for the first 3 days of camp, has thrown the ball really well. As good as I've seen him throw it. He's raised his level, and he's making those around him better.
You mentioned competition, and it's been kind of fun watching these guys at practice go at each other. We saw Robbie and Dante kind of go at it the other day in drills. But
I love that.
That's fun, right? That's fun. Like, what do you take from guys that go out there and maybe trash talk a little bit?
You know what? They're making each other better because it happens in the game. You know, not only are you physically challenging the other guy, you're also trying to get in their head.
Just emotionally, keep them in check.
You want to get that callous. You know, you don't want to get caught up in the emotions of the game and do something stupid. Those guys are out there making each other better. I love to see that.
Yeah. So Matt Corral was the new shiny toy, and then came Baker. So now the fans are like, what about Matt Corral? Watching him play 7-on-7, I don't think it's a fair assessment of him because he looks so good because of the quick release, and he's got a rocket of an arm.
He does.
There's like 90% more of what it takes to be a quarterback, though. But what have you seen from him so early?
I was talking to McAdoo this morning. He's coming out of a college offense. We weren't sure how much he could absorb and learn just so quickly, and he's staying right with the crew. He's exactly right where we want him to be. He's learning. He's throwing the ball well out here. We're not worried about him at all. We're excited about his future. There's a competition going on. He thinks he's right in the middle of it, and he is.
Yeah.
And so he should. And I love that competitive mentality. And that's why we drafted him. He's exactly who we thought he was.
Jokes aside, are you a little nervous he makes it a little bit too much of a competition? And then you have a conversation between Baker, Sam, and Matt now?
An open competition is open competition, whether it's Sam, Baker, or Matt.
I love it.
Yeah, there's 8 more practices, I think, left for these guys, the dog days of summer. But what are you going to be doing over the next 8 days while you're down here?
You know, once the games start being played, we'll get with our pro staff. We'll evaluate what's out there around the rest of the league. How does that compare to our back end guys? You know, our 45 to 53. Can we upgrade? Are there certain spots that out there that are going to get cut that we can bring in here? So we're doing all those things. We'll make trade calls. Basically, we're trying to get the roster set for the season, our practice squad, and get ready for Cleveland.
Do you sleep?
Oh, yeah.
He has to.
How great is it that you have someone like Zane Gonzalez and Johnny Hecker here, where we haven't talked about the kicker all camp?
Right.
That's great for us because trying to sell a kicker as conversation on a show isn't fun. And for you to kind of have to worry about a kicker can't be fun.
Well, you know, last year we went through so many kickers. It was great to fall on Zane, and he was so consistent all the way through. And then to add Johnny Hecker, who's an all-decade performer, he can do so many different things with the ball and ball placement, flip the field. And we're a defensive team that's going to want to run the ball. That plays into what we want to do. So the punter is very important to us, and getting Johnny was huge.
What do you think about the fan turnout? I think it's pretty good for a last-minute change.
Yeah, this is awesome. For being supposed to be a night practice today, this is awesome. So the players love it, and we love seeing the fans out here.
Very quickly, are we going to expect a move on the defensive line? Because obviously Carlos Dunlap signed with the Chiefs. Thoughts?
Yeah, we made a run at Carlos, and he got a good contract from KC, and it's more of a luxury than a necessity at this point, but we're going to always keep looking to add pass rush.
Hopefully Yetur Gross Matos makes that a moot point and he gets the job done. And
Marquise Blair, Frankie Luvu. We'll create pressure.
Maybe Scott Fitter. We'll see.
I don't know about that.
Scott, we appreciate you joining us here on BBKL. We're going to have a lot more coming up here live from Wofford College as the Panthers and their back-to-football practice still underway. You hear that siren, that means the session's over. Water break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Spartanburg, South Carolina, Wofford College and Gibbs Stadium as the Panthers and Black and Blue kickoff live. Back to football. Roll on here. Let's get Al Wallace in here, former Panther, Black and Blue kickoff live analyst alongside Carla Gebhardt. I'm Will Kunkel. You've been watching intently as we were talking to Scott over here at practice. What have you seen? What are you looking for?
I'm itching to get down there. It's been a while since I've been back and been able to go to the practices. So I'm just looking for all the little things, all the details, and it looks crisp. I love the 11-on-11 situations. It's much more competitive than you see some of the 7-on-7 drills. The defense has a sided advantage, but the guys look sharp. You can hear the roar of the crowd. The fans showed up today. It's been great.
You wanted to get down there, but you did by no means want to be here at Wofford College for the weeks, the dog days, right?
No, just the practice. Just, just 2 or 3 snaps. That's it.
The grass is always greener on the other side. All right, Al, the defensive line, how much are these guys hating this from the standpoint of they don't get to really do anything? They want to be physical. They want to put their paws on somebody. Or on the offensive line like Icky, who likes to play violent. What is this time like for them?
They're counting down till Monday. They're trying to wait until they can get out there on the field with pads on. But it's tough. You go through one-on-one drills, and I watch those from this end of the field, and they're just going through the motions, arms, legs, trying to get body positions in the right way. But these guys want to put on the pads because they want to be able to implement the power, the physicality of their pass rush techniques.
All right, so quarterbacks, again, we're going to be rehashing this forever. What did you see? What did you take away down there with Sam and Baker going with the 1s and 2s?
You know what? I'm blown away by the accuracy. I've watched them throw the ball into that, 3-foot hoop down there. So for them to be so consistent in doing all their drills, going through all their reps, those guys are competing. And, I know it's supposed to be a competition, but you can't see the difference. Both of those guys are going out there and doing a really good job.
You and I have been wowed by Matt Corral's arm. Jeez. And I warned the fans on Twitter, don't fall in the trap like we kind of have here just a little bit, because you can look so good with a strong arm in 7-on-7, but there's so much more to playing the position than just that.
It is. And he has a strong arm. And I think when you're that young, and I've been in that spot, you're just so eager to get the job done. You want to look good in front of Ben McAdoo. You want to look good in front of the other 3 quarterbacks that are out there. So you see a little extra zip. You see a little extra hustle. I can confirm he was the first guy out here for practice again today. But, man, I like the way the ball comes out of his hands.
Does that matter? Being out here first?
It does, because you have to establish kind of that routine and who you're going to be as a pro. And Matt Corral saying, hey, I'm going to be first. I'm going to try hard. I don't know that's going to help him win a job, but it's putting some effort forward that he's going to put in every necessary thing into his job to be the best.
And he's got 2 former starting quarterbacks in the NFL to learn from, and he's probably taken that opportunity to do that. But Baker came in here, and one of the first things he said at practice this week was, I just want to see what guys are made of. And I thought that language that he used just kind of showed his personality, just his competitive side. What do you take away from a guy that says something like that?
It says leadership. Yeah. It's leadership all over it. And you can feel however you want to feel about Baker Mayfield, but he is a leader. He's taken command of every group he's been in, Oklahoma, Cleveland, and now the Carolina Panthers. He wants to see what his teammates are made of. And I like that from a quarterback, from a leader. And that quarterback spot is definitely a leader. So when I hear things like that from Baker, it makes me excited for this upcoming season.
As we look at Chuba Hubbard, the Canadian boy, he spelled Christian last year, especially when Christian was out. Christian has only played in 10 games the last 2 years. What are you looking from the second running back position, maybe one of the most important positions on this team, due to CMC's health?
Well, I've watched Chuba intently. I wanted to make sure in some of those passing drills how he was catching the ball, that body position, the routes, so he can be more Christian-like. He doesn't have to be Christian McCaffrey, but I think if there was a hole in his game last year, it was his pass catching ability. And, man, he was fantastic today. I don't think any of the balls hit the ground, so Chuba did a great job.
All right, I want to go down to the field now because I'm a mouthy guy. I love chirpy practices because it's so much fun. It elevates it. Scott Fitterer, the general manager, was talking about that a little bit earlier. So let's go down to Kristen Balboni, who's down on the field. KB, I heard it's getting a little mouthy down there.
Well, it's competitive, Will. As you mentioned, Scott Fitterer said he likes it. It was funny. Carla was mentioning some words exchanged between Dante Jackson and Robbie Anderson the other day in practice. Just a few minutes before she said that, they were out here at it again. But as GM, Scott Fitterer told you guys, it's that competitive nature. I mean, they were fine about 30 seconds afterwards. But, it is fun to see both sides get the juices flowing, even when they are playing against each other. So we saw that a little bit here. Both guys that always like to to get competitive, get involved, make sure that they're defending their side of the ball. So it was fun to see that a little bit. Then overall, we heard Shaq Thompson talking in the first hour about how he really, really wants this young defense to communicate. And I will say in the last, let's call it 15, 20 minutes when team periods start, we're hearing a lot of that, a lot of it led by Jeremy Chin. Lots of good communication from the defense, which is what those veterans really, really want to see, especially with Shaq Thompson not out there, Will and Carla.
All right, KB, I love that because we have a man next to us, one that is huge, and played with Steve Smith, who was just on the show last hour. You want to talk about guys that like to mix it up with their mouth a little bit. Steve Smith was that dude.
Hey, when you can back it up the way old Smitty did, you can talk all the trash you want to. I don't think he was rivaled in his trash-talking ability.
What was that like with him on the field? I mean, how many teammates loved him because he was so good, and how many teammates hated him because of who he was on the practice field?
I mean, it was the love-hate thing, right?
Yeah.
You hate him when you're practicing against him in this heat down in Spartanburg, but he lined up with us. He wore our colors. We knew we had one of the toughest competitors in all of the NFL. He was unbelievable. I can't believe I played with him. This guy's a Hall of Famer, man.
Let's talk about the other wide receivers currently on the roster right now. You got Robbie Anderson. I mean, changed his number. Confirmed his spelling of his name as Robie. So what do you expect from him? Is he going to I mean, the first season that he was with the Panthers, great. Last season, not so much. Is he going to step it up?
He's refocused. He hears all the chatter. He understands what the narrative is about his drops and his play and how it fell off last year. So I think he's going to be extremely focused. He's going to go out and make plays. And they're going to need that number 2 opposite of DJ Moore. DJ is fantastic. I watch his body control and how he catches the ball. It's bar none. But Robbie has a little extra to him. I can see that he's put in some work in the offseason, and I expect him to go out there and have another big season this year.
1 year ago, we were down here talking about Terrace Marshall Jr. He never really showed up in the regular season. What does he need to do to make an impact on this team and be that solid number 3 for whoever is quarterback?
I look at him today, and it's never about his skill set, his athletic ability. I watched him make an acrobatic catch up in the air and land on one foot. It's about between the ears, picking up the playbook, understanding where it's supposed to be, what he's supposed to do. It's the X's and O's. And this is year 2, so I think he'll be able to pick it up. And now you're talking about 3, maybe 4, when you talk about Higgins, who has a great relationship with both quarterbacks out there. This is a deep group. This is a really deep group. Hasn't been that deep in a minute.
All right, when we come back a little bit later, I want to talk about Brian Burns. So think about Brian. Go watch him because this dude has got to be better if he wants to be one of the greats in the NFL. But coming up next, we're going to bring on Charlie Dayton. For those of you that do not know, he is a Hall of Famer. He's on the All-Madden team. I kid you not. Charlie Dayton, the press box is named after him, and he's going to join Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football when we return. The party rolls on here on Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football. So great to see all the fans in the stands supporting the economy and the community of Spartanburg down here. So awesome. Let's now bring in Charlie Dayton, the former PR director of your Carolina Panthers, alongside Carla Gebhardt. Al Wallace still here. And Al, you played 10 years in the NFL. You think that's a long career. This man did it for 40 years, and he wrangled players like you. Charlie, congratulations, first of all, on going into the Hall of Fame for the Award of Excellence. It's absolutely amazing. If I told you that you were going to be the PR director and then be in the Hall of Fame with guys like hopefully Steve Smith one day and Sam Mills, what would you have said to me?
I would never have believed it. And this is the first year they had the category, so there's no reason to believe it could happen. But this year they took PR directors, equipment men, assistant coaches, and trainers, took 5 of each. So I was fortunate to be in the inaugural class of PR.
So you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's what you wanted to say there.
No.
Own it. And you're going in with Sam Mills, right? So, and I know that means so much to you, but try to just put that into words for fans that you're going in with Sam Mills into the Hall of Fame.
Well, Sam, I was blessed to work with Sam 3 years. The last 3 years he played, and there was no finer individual. I mean, that Sam, whether you're a football player or selling insurance, you can't be a better person. And so it's an honor and it's a thrill to be associated with Sam. And I'm so happy he's going in.
You know, I was texting with Jonathan Stewart last night. I said, I need some stories about Charlie Date. What do you remember? He said, you know what? I just remember that he always had our back. He was always there for us. Al, what do you remember from Charlie and what he brought you guys? And he always set you up for success and how much that meant for you.
I mean, he definitely set me up for success. I think I told you guys I'm probably not doing what I'm doing now if not for the opportunities that Charlie gave to me. Being a backup, not one of the star guys, but on a very good defensive line, and being put in front of the media, giving opportunities to kind of speak and help everyone understand that I really understood the game. So I appreciate what Charlie has done for me in my small role here in Carolina.
Well, I appreciate you bailing me out of a lot of open locker rooms.
There you go. Yes.
So I had great appreciation of you.
I want to know what it would be like for you if you were working, and I'm sure you had something like this, when you have a quarterback competition. How do you handle that from a PR standpoint? When you take Sam and you take Baker, do you put them in a room and be like, listen, don't talk bad about him. Don't talk bad about him. This is how we're going to handle this situation.
Well, yeah, you just try to make sure, don't get into theoretical questions. You know, if this happens or just answer what's going on the field. And, you know, don't be problematic in what you're talking about. Just deal with the reality, be generous, and try to be as civil as possible. And I think these guys, just watching it from a distance, couldn't handle it better than they have. I mean, they have been perfect in the way they've answered the questions, the way they've related to each other. And we went back, 2003, Al will remember this. We went to a season with Rodney Peete and Jake Delhomme. And in training camp, nobody knew who, and Chris Winkie, nobody knew who was going to come out of that training camp being the quarterback. But they had similar personalities to this group. They were all good people, and it couldn't have worked out better than it did.
You obviously have to wrangle, lead players back when you were in your career, but you also led so many people in their careers today, whether they work for the Panthers now or out there in the NFL. What does that mean to you to leave your mark on the NFL like that?
Your coaching tree.
Yes.
Well, that means more than the wins and the losses and the Super Bowls and the playoffs, because, that's lasting. And to have that is, I feel very privileged, very lucky to have that. But all I did was crack the door. They did the work. They wouldn't be here if they weren't doing the work.
So you mentioned that you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hashtag humble brag. But in 1989, you were the first non-player to be named to the All-Madden team. That seems insane to me. What is that to feel like, to know that you're the All-Madden guy?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed to tell this story. What happened was we were having a practice like today, and the quarterback threw an out to a running back who was going out of bounds. But unfortunately, the owner was standing right where the running back was headed. So I stepped in front of the running after he caught the ball and got blown up, and I got on the All-Madden team for that.
Well, it's more than I can say as you see Christian McCaffrey take a handoff, and that is not what you want to see, Christian McCaffrey.
Stay up.
That is Christian. Yeah, going down to the ground. Less than ideal, to say the least. But, Charlie, thank you for your time. Congratulations. We'll see you out in Canton, Ohio. Such an honor as Sam Mills also gets inducted. We're going to be right back with more on Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football. Shout out to our crew here on unbelievable setup for Black and Blue Kickoff Live. Back to football. This is why we are the home of the Panthers, because what we can give you, the insights that we can give you, and who better to do that with than the Assistant General Manager, Dan Morgan, on set now. First of all, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Now, you see Al Wallace, your former teammate. All I want is some dirt. I want some dirt on Al. Give me something.
There's no dirt on Al. I was just telling, Al was one of my favorite teammates, man. Great dude, great dad. I got nothing bad to say about Al. And he was a hell of a player. Yeah. You can give me the money later.
Give me something about Dan. I mean, absolutely fierce. The long hair on the field. Cleaned up a little bit since then. What do you remember of Dan?
the intensity. I'm in that huddle, and Dan's giving us the play. He's frothing at the mouth. Look, I think one of the most underrated Carolina Panthers, and in the line of that legacy, John Beeson, all those Miami guys that were here, Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. For me, it all started with Dan Morgan and watching him play at the University of Maryland. Miami, and then coming here and playing for the Panthers. I had incredible teammates, man.
Let's talk about this roster. I don't know if you've heard. There's a quarterback battle going on between Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
What have you seen? What are you looking for? Because it's so early to probably have any judgment at this point.
It is. Both those guys are competitors. We got Matt Corral, who we drafted in the 3rd round, too, who's another great player. P.J. Walker. The competition's been good. The guys are out there competing every day. They're working their butts off. They're trying to learn the offense. Ben McAdoo has a, pretty complicated offense, but these guys are smart. And they're competing. They're out here competing. They're working hard, and may the best man win.
And they are working hard in the heat out there. But you and Al off camera were kind of talking about, this is your time to glow. Back in my day, we had 2-a-days. We had sweltering heat. So what was that like when both of y'all were playing?
It was awful. It was awful. I tell the guys on the team, I'm like, man, this is nothing. Like one practice a day. Like we used to practice at 9 o'clock and then 3 o'clock in like sweltering heat. These guys have it easy. We never even had these shaded days, even though it's humid out.
I don't understand it. It's getting soft. The guys are out there, but I understand it. They're trying to protect one another.
Yeah.
But we had some characters out there. We hear Dante Jackson, a lot of the guys kind of chirping.
Yep.
We had a lot of guys buck and
we
bunch
had
of
fun.
guys out there.
We had fun.
So
we used to make fun of Ruck a lot. And we had some good times back then, man. So definitely miss it.
Who were some of your best trash talkers? We were just talking about Smitty right before the break and how amazing he was. He was one of those dudes you hated when you went up against him, but when he was on your side on Sunday, you loved him to death.
Yeah, we had a lot of trash talkers, but Ruck was the one that was always out there chirping and talking, nonstop. And it was fun though, man. Like all fun and games, we used to bust on each other all the time. So
in about a week, Sam Mills is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
What did that man mean to you? What did he mean to this franchise, getting it off the ground? What do you remember about him?
He meant a lot to all of us. Like me and Al obviously got to know him really well, just, him being one of our coaches. But he was just a real humble guy, just cared about everybody, was a hard worker. Just a pleasure to be around every day. I just learned so much from him, not only on the field, but off the field, too. So he's definitely missed, and I'm happy that he made it.
And we just had Charlie Dayton on, former PR director. Did you give him a hard time when you played?
No, not really.
No.
I was
you did
pretty,
what he said.
Yeah, I was pretty easy. Charlie's, easy going, so we all had a good time with him.
We see someone go to the ground here. How much does your heart drop, your stomach getting butterflies, now that you're not a player and you got to worry about these guys' health and just making it through camp when you see guys go to the ground? What's that like?
You worry all the time. We're, we want to keep this roster healthy, like first and foremost. So that's why I'm glad we don't have 2-a-days, honestly, because when a guy gets hurt out there, that puts more work on me and, more work on the front office to get a replacement in. So hopefully the team stays healthy and we have a great year.
We're taking a look at Sam and Baker right now. These guys have handled this as well as I think anybody could have expected, especially Sam, because he was here. He was the starter last year. So to have someone, all the rumors all offseason, whether it's Deshaun and now Baker, the way he's handled this is it's incredible and it's admirable, frankly. What's your impression?
Yeah, Sam's a pro, Baker's a pro. All these quarterbacks are pros, So, it's just part of being an NFL player, we're always trying to create competition from a front office perspective. And, this is just another case, and, hopefully they make each other better.
So give us a behind-the-scenes look, because there's no 2-a-days for these guys. They got one practice a day. They got it easy, so to speak. So they go in. What do they do in their off time here in Spartanburg?
Well, they get off at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We used to not get in our dorm until like 10 o'clock. So, it's not as strenuous as it used to be, but, a lot of it is just them taking care of their body, in meetings, going over the tape, what they're doing right now, and just kind of learning the offense, gelling as a team, gelling as a position groups, and, just trying to get better and getting ready for the season.
Al, did you think Dan was going to be a front office man when you were playing with him?
I don't know that I saw that coming, but he was always smart, and he'd always had an eye for talent. I know he kind of had Will Weatherspoon, another great linebacker, come up under him, and he was coached by Sam Mills. So, it's not an accident that a guy like Dan is where he is and kind of climbed the ladder so far.
For all the fans that are watching right now, what do you want them to not be so overly gung-ho about? What should they be watching if they don't know what to watch necessarily during this time?
You know, I would just say, you know, with a team, like, we're still building. You know, I would just say be patient. You know, we're working our butts off in the front office. The coaches, they're working their butts off too. We definitely, what's being played?
That's it. You're hearing you're hearing the traffic signals.
Yeah, hearing some traffic signals. But yeah, no, we.
See, that's what we have to play through. Yeah. We play through all of that all the time.
Yeah, I was like, what is that?
Yeah, we just saw Matt Corral take some reps out there. What have you seen from him as a rookie and the way that he prepares? Because he seems like he is focused right now.
Well, you know, he's the first one on the field, last one to leave type, and you know that's part of why we drafted him. He's hard worker. He's super competitive, and obviously he's got all the intangibles. He's got the arm talent. You know, he's got everything that you want. He's just got to learn the playbook. He's a rookie. He's got to be in that every night, and you know, so far he's done a good job.
Constantly, guys have said how difficult it is to learn Ben McAdoo's system.
Yeah.
Why? What is so difficult for the fan?
I think it's more just the verbiage. You know, there's a lot of different plays that he's got to call. A lot of things he's got to remember in the huddle. I mean it's like a long sentence, some of these plays.
Can you say a play?
Oh, I don't know any of them. I mean, it's pretty rough. Like, on the offensive side of the ball, it's a lot more complicated than the defensive side. Like, defensive side, we'll have pretty simple calls, but in this offense right here, it gets a little complicated.
See ball, get ball on defense.
No
right?
doubt. No doubt. We just hunt on the defense.
Just eat,
side. Yep.
All right, we got a lot more coming up here at Wofford College for Panthers training camp. Black and Blue kickoff live back to football will continue. Dan, we appreciate your time, brother.
Anytime.
All right, man.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Yes, keep pounding. Welcome back to Black and Blue Kickoff Live, back to football. And that's Sam Darnold, unfortunately finding the wrong colored jersey. Jeremy Chinn, though, making plays, making interceptions. As we get back out here with Al Wallace alongside Carla Gebhardt, I'm Will Kunkel. Al, that's what we need to see from Jeremy Chinn this year. He has to be a difference maker for this team.
I mean, they've all talked about going from good to great, and turnovers has been the number one thing. So to see Jeremy Chinn, great break downhill right there to get that ball away from the defender. I mean, they're doing a good job. The defense, the secondary in particular, is looking really good today.
Yeah, but not what you want to see from the quarterbacks. And I know fans maybe see a play like that and they might panic. Oh, no, here we go again. But it's training camp. They should not focus on the production of these players right now.
No, you don't focus on that. You just look at the execution of the play, and obviously an interception is not good execution. But for me, it's just about them going out there and the ball coming out of the quarterback's hands, making the right read, and I think all four quarterbacks are doing a good job.
Yeah, all the guys right now, and it's so nice to see the fans out here. We had an 8-hour time change today. It was supposed to be at 7 p.m. It happened at 11 a.m., so shout out to all the fans out here. I know Spartanburg greatly appreciates all these fans that come down here because it supports their community, which is excellent. Al, what do you remember about coming down here and seeing the fans come down here and support you guys and want to be part of this? And the fact that it's still here, I think we're all a little surprised, to be honest.
I always loved it because the fans show up. It's the one opportunity really that you get to meet and greet the fans. They show up, they want the autographs, and it's hot, you're tired, and you get to stop and you meet the little kids and they carry your helmet. That's the best part. You're tired after practice. But no, it's a fun time. We all remember the great fans from all around the country really who converge here to Spartanburg and support us.
They've also got rookies for that. We saw a lot of rookies carrying a lot of helmets to the practice room. But obviously this is all a build-up. This is a happy day, but Monday the pads come on, and that's when, the real men come out. I guess that's what they say. But how do you prepare for that as a player? I mean, it's different with those pads on.
It's different, and it's going to take like the first couple of series to get used to the sound and the feel of the pads. I mean, it should get going really fast. I mean, Dan was just on here. John Fox didn't give us any room. We lined up. We did goal line first period of the day. Let's see who has it. Let's see who wants to get out of here.
I'm most excited to watch Ikem Ekwonu, affectionately known as Icky. I want to see that man put his paws on somebody and move bodies. He likes to play violent. He talks about that consistently. I want to see him and see what he can do.
Look, I saw the kid in pass rush drills put those paws on someone, and he is fantastic. He is going to be great as a run blocker, but I think he doesn't get enough credit by how athletic he is and how great he is with his feet and his hands and the timing to be a good pass protector. He's going to be special. I feel very fortunate that he's here with the Carolina Panthers.
We're taking a look at him right now. How important is it that they have shored up this offensive line? I know it's not the sexiest position, but we saw in the last couple of years that they haven't had a left tackle. We saw how bad it was last year and how detrimental that is. Football can be complicated, but it's very simple to start. You start front to back, inside to out. And you don't have the opportunity to get complicated if you can't do the simple things up front to start.
Yeah, pass, block, tackle. That's football. So I think if you got an offensive line, I am old school. I believe football starts from the line of scrimmage out. So if you have a good defensive line, Burns, the rest of the guys on that side, you have to counter that on the offense. And it's been a while. My guy, Jordan Gross, I can't remember all the tackles that have been here since then, but Ike Ekwonu looks to be a cornerstone here for the Panthers. He just looks good the first few days of training camp.
And you now can evaluate the quarterbacks, right? Because that was the problem last season. We didn't have an offensive line, and therefore you didn't really, you wanted maybe to blame Sam for some of his plays, but you didn't know if it was because of the offensive line.
You're running for your life, and you can't give the offensive line all the credit and not, Sam, still make good throws and good decisions, but certainly you're going to feel more comfortable in the pocket. It's going to be a clean view, clean windows to throw the ball in, and you expect that from this line that's really been rebuilt.
All right, as they go to the huddle, we're going to huddle here. We're going to talk about what we're going to talk about in our final segment here on Black and Blue. Kickoff live, back to football. Brian Burns, that's your homework. We're going to hear what you think about number 53 when we get back. When Sam Mills coined the mantra, keep pounding, it was not only for the football team but the fans. Shout out to the fans, 10,210 strong today here at Panthers training camp at Wofford College on Gibbs Field. Black and Blue Kickoff Live, back to football, back with you. Al Wallace, Carla Gebhardt, I'm Will Kunkel. Let's focus on number 53, defensive end. Man after your own heart, plays your position. But he came into the league, caught the world on fire, caught the fans' emotions on fire, frankly. They expect a lot from him. He's never reached double-digit sacks. He's an impact player, but I think he has to take that next step if he wants to be considered great.
I think that's what pass rushers are judged by. Can you get to 10, 12, 15 sacks? And Burns hasn't been able to get there, and you're right, Will. He's an impact player. You see him in the backfield. When he gets to the quarterback, he's able to get the ball out and on the ground. And then you see the great celebration. He looks a little heavier on the bottom, which is a good thing. He's put on some weight, and I think that's going to help him versus the run. It's going to help him stay stronger longer during the season when you see some of the sack totals start to tail off.
And he said he, stepped up in his training. He's stepping up in his leadership role, waking up at like 6 a.m., which is a big deal for him. Is that a big deal? Does that say a lot when you're maybe a rookie or second-year player and you see a guy like Brian Burns take those steps?
I think we've all been there. You come in, you're a young guy. There are leaders in front of you. It's Luke Kuechly, and then it's Thomas Davis, and now Shaq's not on the field. So they look to Burns and Jeremy Chin and Dante Jackson, and Burns getting up, making an example for the young guys, says he gets it, and it's going to be the next step. And I think that's going to turn into maybe his best year as a pro.
What does he need to add to his repertoire in order to take that next step? Because he is bendy, he's athletic, he's fun to watch. What else does he need to do to get to the quarterback and finish? Because a lot, he gets here a lot. He's like this close a lot.
So what it is I think everyone knows, just like you said, he's coming with the spin move. He has the speed. He has the quick arm over and going inside. Now he has to use that rebuilt lower body, that strength, to turn speed into power and go down the middle of those offensive tackles. Once they know he has that change up, that he's going to hit him in the mouth every now and then, it's going to help that corner get shorter and shorter because they're going to have to sit down on that bull rush.
And somebody we haven't talked a lot about because we're still maybe thinking the Panthers might go after a defensive end is Yetur Gross-Matos. But the players on the field say that he is ready to take that next step as well. But what do you have to see from Yetur this season?
I think it's consistency, and it's all that. It's that way for all the young players. And I heard Brian Burns talking about him. I watched him here in practice. His technique is perfect. You go back and look at what he did in Penn State. I mean, he's a good football player. I think just like we described with Brian Burns, it takes moving some guys out of the way for you to really elevate your game. No Hassan Reddick. I think it's Yetur's time to shine.
So you know it's training camp because you got 90 guys, so the coaches have to yell sideline versus goal line, and that means it's time to run. What goes through your mind, and where's your stomach when you see the guys starting to run after practice?
Yeah, oh no, especially on a day like today where it's hot, you're already tired, but it's the work that has to be put in. You don't want to get to week 1 and your conditioning, your cardio is not right.
Oh, gosh. That's.
I mean, it's the worst nightmare. It's your nightmares when you hear the coach say goal line, and in this case, there's so many people out there that it's sideline. All right, we're going to hear from Matt Rhule a little bit later. You can hear from him on Charlotte Sports Live tonight on our sister station, Queen City News, Fox Charlotte. Thank you to the Carolina Panthers. Thank you to Steve Smith and Taylor and Al Wallace, everybody that joined us, Scott Fitter, Dan Morgan, Charlie Dayton, and everybody. We're going to have a lot more tonight. We are your home of the Carolina Panthers. From Wofford College, I'm Will Kunkel for Carla Gebhardt. Good night.